was a nice quiet night. Sky was clear, stars visible by the millions, cold, 2 miles up in the atmosphere, when suddenly it was over. The world was changed. So let me take you on a trip across Google Earth and see if we can see some of the things that brought me to my conclusions. As you notice, you see the ocean bottoms. I'm going to go over here to Southern California, where there's an abnormally off of the coast of California that some TV shows and theorists will tell you that it's a underwater alien airbase. And it's right here outside of Los Angeles, in between Long Beach and Santa Monica. It is that little square thing right at the base of the cliff there. Right there. Yeah. It looks a little rectangular there, if you will, but on closer inspection, it gets to be a sort of an oval-shaped affair. Looks like an opening underneath it going into whatever with columns. All columns right along in there. And if we turn it to a 3D image, which we'll do in a minute here, all right, there was the 3D image. And again, you can see what looks to be columns and an opening where something could have come in and out of, and unfortunately this area in front of it is blurred out by Google Earth. However, this had to have been above ground at one point, even though right now it's 2,000 miles into the earth. See these valleys, these canyons here? They were created by massive amounts of water. I don't know how much given time, but all along the continental shelf, there are canyons and valleys and watermarks, and it goes on and on. This looks like a mudslide. Look at these valleys. Look at these hills. I don't know how long it took them to get there, but they were definitely above the water level at one point, and so wasn't a lot of this land even farther out into the ocean. Look at the size of these canyons. What carved out the Grand Canyon is water. And now we have, even further offshore, a depression right off of Santa Cruz. And it shows water pouring in from all the way around. You go down to this next place, the Channel Islands, and you see what looks like mud flows all the way down the hill onto the valley down below it. And it goes on and on. Everywhere you look, there's watermarks deep in the ocean that look like an awful lot of water washed down there. All right, we're going to go a little further north, and there's a river running right down over the continental shelf onto the ocean floor. I don't know how deep it is, to be honest with you. I haven't gotten those measurements yet, but I intend to look into it. But it almost looks like it should be going the other way. Most river deltas look like what's up on the continental shelf, and most rivers look like they start on the other end, where that little coming out of those hills. Was this area above the surface of the ocean at one particular time? And I have to believe the answer is yes. Well, you can even continue further north. Tremendous canyons going deep into the ocean, all carved by water. Yep, just keep going up along the continental shelf and look at these areas. All constructed with water. Little pareidolia there looks like an Indian head facing off to the left. But you go up further and further, and then you get up toward Puget Sound. And let's see, we'll make our way up there. Look at these canyons and waterways carved into the earth. Everywhere you look along the west coast, the continental shelf is just laced with canyons that run deep into the deeper part of the ocean. And they're all formed by water, apparently. I don't know what else would cause these things to look the way they do. You move up into the Alaska, Canadian coast and Alaska, and it's more of the same. You know, huge water running off the continental shelf like there. But when you get up to this area, and there's water deep down in the valleys of the ocean, and there's still the rivers, and then it looks like could be a secondary river there or whatever. But these could have been because the land was still covered in ice, and there was may have been ice in there as the mini ice age followed. Maybe these were all formed when the ice finally melted, but there's an awful lot of deep ocean, what looks like rivers, and even structures in some places. This one goes into what looks like the Aleutian Island chain, if you will. And of course you can't see in there because they got it all blurred out. And you see these other structures that you really wonder what they are. Some is clear, but some is definitely blurry. And here's a weird looking thing. You know, looks like a big V, a little shape. Who knows what that is? A lot of it's blurred out. So anyhow, you want to take a look and you just, let's go across the continent. Let's go straight across to the other side from here. And basically where you end up is the northwest corner of Greenland. Somewhere in this general area is the impact crater that happened about 12,900 years ago. And I want to show you some things that I see, and whether or not they're real or my imagination remains to be seen. So the asteroid or slash comet slash whatever you want to call it made an impact in northwest Greenland. Well, if you look at the area north and east of Greenland, you're going to see some deep parts of the ocean, and the one directly east of Greenland, in between Norway, looks like it was a big blast of water heading toward the southeast. And if the impact happened, and it happened in the years they said it did, when you have to go through 2 miles of ice to strike the earth, then the outward part of the blast gets somewhat stifled. The ice will blow apart, but there will be a lot of compression before that ice tears into shreds and directs the blast straighter up in the atmosphere rather than roll out to the sides, if you will. But when that first ripple came off of Greenland, it started pushing a lot of water toward the European continent. North of here was still under ice, 2 feet of ice. So where was the water going to go that was pushed? If you look off the spoon end of Norway, you see a triangular or a cornucopia, whatever you want to call it, V-shaped deep blue that runs to the southeast. All right, and it starts there, and it come off the shelf there. There's where the meteor was. So you get that little blossoming thing there. Then you got a big mudslide that I watched the time guys on YouTube that said it happened about 8,000 years ago. But then you get that big giant, what looks like water washed away the middle of the earth east of Ireland, and then it comes all the way down and beyond. Now let me just show you a little closer. All right. Yeah. Do you think that was created by water? Do you think that was created by accident? Do you think that was created by what? But it looks like a water channel right down through there, right down through here. If you look all along this ridge, you're going to see more canyons. Not as bad as some of the other ones, because this isn't the way the main water flow went. The main water flow headed toward Africa and the Mediterranean. Better view of the water-created canyons, if you will. The smooth side. Come over here. I'm not going to say this is Atlantis, but they said it was beyond the gates of Gibraltar, and there's a round structure with a opening to the south. Again, all sorts of canyons. And look at that. Right off here. This whole valley. Look at these. And they extend deep into the ocean. And they're not, what can I say? Anyway, they come off of Portugal. Again, there's some more deep canyons rolling off back into the ocean from when maybe the ice moved that far. I don't know how much ice covered the earth at that particular point, but if it was 2 miles thick, it must have made an awful difference. So now you come into the northeast corner of Africa and the Mediterranean Sea, and if you look along the edges of the northwest edges that aim toward where the water would have come from, you'll see more canyons, more underground rivers, washed back off the Sardinian of the islands off Italy. All along the north coast, you see minor canyons because the water washed in, and then some of it washed back out that way. The majority of it, I believe, went across the desert and into the Black Sea. You can see the canyons where the water rolled in. You can see another old river bottom coming across here. Looks like it's covered over by silt or whatever was pushed up into that area. Who knows? But you continue it on downward, and you come to the Persian Gulf and Saudi Arabia, and it looks like water ran across that continent. And look, lo and behold, there's the cliffs. Water ran down there. So we'll zoom back, and here's a picture of northern Canada and the water area, and there's an obvious, maybe a meteor strike here and a meteor strike in the Bay of Hudson Bay. We don't know. I'm not sure when those were, but obviously the Earth gets struck by an awful lot of solid objects. And you come out over here, and you can see where the water sort of looks like it was washed up into the bay, and a little channel cut through the end of the land here. And you get off of Newfoundland, and you get canyons, then less of them along here, and then you get more off of New England, and not as bad as the west side, but all the water was pushed toward the west side, the majority of it. Those are good fishing areas for the fishermen in New England, and the Gulf Stream runs up alongside of there, and good habitat for fish. So anyway, when the water washed across the desert, you listen to Jimmy on Bright Insights, and you look at his stories on Atlantis, and that's what turned me and stuck me down this rabbit hole. And it just sort of all makes sense. Nobody ever talks about the ripples that form when the media impacts the Earth. And those ripples travel all across the Earth. And they just like the ones in a lake when you drop in a big stone. They start out big and they roll across the Earth, and they dissipate at some point, depending on how hard or how large the object that impacted us was. So this is my start down the rabbit hole. I'm going to blame Bright Insights for sending me here, but if you think this story could have some truth to it, look it up. Here's the Eye of the Sahara. Looks like water ran all through it. It's your choice, your guess. I'm going to do some more research, and off we go.